everybody. My name's DM Craig.
I'm Silver.
I'm Dalhis.
And I'm Lucia.
And welcome back to Valaclaci. So, last time, guys. How did last time start? We'll get to how it ended. How did last time start?
We killed rats. It was glorious.
We did. We killed some rats. After killing the rats, we got together, had a little bit of a group session of trying to figure out what to do. And we looked at going into an old keep. We met with a guy who owned a very shady business, to be honest with you. We'll just put it that way. And he basically effectively tricked me, not everyone else, but me, into thinking that it was a good idea just to go straight there. Thankfully, my teammates realized that was a bad idea. And so we diverted our course to Lucia's hometown before we go to the
Silver got an awesome spell book.
And I also have been reading the heck out of this incredible book that has been so good.
And then we got attacked by very high level creatures.
Yeah, we can sum up the end. Silver came out of the tent, said, "Oh my god, a fucking bear," and now we're all dead.
Yes.
Hey, let's not bury the lead here. I hit something.
I do have a confession to make. I have told two of you already. The third, I haven't had a chance for us to talk and say anything about it. I need to apologize because I went through and I had you guys roll a D100 to see what type of encounter you had. You rolled a lower encounter. And then I went through and I have this website that has a bunch of just like random generated stuff just to try and make it where I don't have to plan every single little forest battle you guys have out. Used it. And that's what I used to use the people that came out and fought you. And I looked at it and I was like, man, because originally they had like AC of 20. Man, I went through and I set this to be a level 1 encounter that was, semi-easy-ish. This shouldn't be something that really goes too much, but I'm going, this is the second time they've only fought. First time didn't go great either, and that was a couple kobolds. I was like, well, maybe I just don't know the dynamic yet of the team, or they haven't figured out their dynamic, whatever the thing was. I was like, but sheesh. And then as we know, it ended up going through and everybody got wiped. And I was like, wow, well, maybe I just was completely wrong on this one. Went back and looked, and I had it set for an easy battle for 5 characters at level 1 and not just 3. So I do want to apologize because that kind of messed things up.
Our other 2 teammates are coming.
Also, if you haven't noticed throughout this game, we're really great at rolling. Like, perfect.
So I'm going to imagine anytime I set up an easy encounter, I'm actually setting up a medium to hard encounter for you guys. And that's the way I'm going to go with it. So next time you guys might have to battle a dust bunny.
He's got nasty teeth.
And we'll probably die.
You guys show up, they're dead again. What happened?
we need to do the infinite lives glitch in Mario and just keep jumping up and down. Pretty
much. So that's where we left off, was the last of the little humanoid creatures came over, shot Lucia. I think you were the last one alive, right?
Yep, I was the last to fall.
You were the last to fall, and as everything went down, you were going down. Your eyes were shutting, and
I heard a commotion.
There was a commotion. Anybody that was conscious enough, I think Brian was conscious, he would have heard the commotion. I don't remember Dalhis' state at the time.
Not great.
Not great. So if he was conscious in some form, he would have heard the commotion. Anybody conscious heard the commotion, and Lucia, as she was just fading, she started hearing the commotion as everything black. So that's where we'll pick back up. And this is where we're going to start.
On a black screen.
Yes, on a black screen.
Because we went black.
Yeah, so it's a fade to black, and we're going to come back up here.
All right.
So, Lucia, you awake, and you look around from where you're at, and you see you're in a room. This room is one you've seen before. It's one you've been in before. It looks like, for the lack of a better term of what I want to say it is, it's like a medical bay or a place for weary travelers to be healed up if they were sick or in pain or anything along those lines. They'd be able to be healed up here. This is one of those healing areas from your childhood. This is where you grew up. So you kind of like wake up, you look around a little bit, you realize you're like, Yeah, I've been in this room before. Is there anything you want to do?
I look around for Dollhiss and Silver.
Nope, you are you're in this room alone.
I'm gonna get out of bed.
Okay. So as you get up, you hear some shuffling from outside of the door, and you hear a gentle knock, and the door opens, and in comes an older man, an elderly type man. Can you describe this man? This is the man that you've known your entire life. One of the for you, one of the most influential figures. This is one of the leaders of this church, of where you're at, of your hometown here. And this is the person that you've connected with the most while you were here, that you pretty much consider this person a parental figure. This is, in some way in your mind, this is basically your father to you.
Okay, so
can you describe him?
Yeah, if I had to describe how I had envisioned this, I would say, this is pretty lame, but literally I would picture like Dumbledore. Like looks, voice kind of thing. Soft-spoken, tall, thin, longer hair and beard.
I am not against that. Okay, so he walks in and he gives you a knowing smile. He looks right at you, smiles at you.
I'm gonna run up and give him a huge hug.
Can you roll for that?
What?
I'm joking. I am so joking.
That would be amazing.
That was you fall on the way there.
If you crit failed, I would love for you to like headbutt this old guy. Right? Like, can we have her roll just to see if just the crit failed?
She can roll for the fun of it, but nothing bad's gonna happen on this.
Okay, never mind.
She can roll
then.
if she feels like it.
Oh, that's fine.
But as you, yep, fine, no crit fail. She rolled a 7. As you run up, he embraces you right back into a hug, and you can feel just the warmth and the comfort that you've known your entire life just wash over you, being next to this man again, being next to, like I said, the guy that you basically have. He's been your father for this whole time, for your whole life so far. And yeah, we can say I don't have a token for him out there. I apologize. I'm gonna search Dumbledore in here and see if it comes up with anybody.
Like you don't search old man, you search Dumbledore.
Nope, there he is.
There's
something for him.
It's Gandalf.
It's uncanny how like him he is.
That's about where he made it. Yeah, and so you. Oh gosh, dang it! So you come right over, and you guys are in an embrace, and he looks at you and goes, Lucia, what happened?
We were attacked in the woods by goblins and bears. It was goblins, right?
Yeah. They were kind of humanoid, and I never really committed to it because I saw how big their AC was. But yeah, they were basically goblins. They're some form of they're a hobgoblin of some form. So we'll go with that. So it was the hobgoblins that you've known have been in the forest before around the area. And when he says that, he embraces you even harder, almost like he's trying to will you back to full health through his hug alone. And then he asks you about your like what's happened since you've left. It's been how long has it been since you've left?
I don't know. I don't know.
We're probably looking at 2.5 months roughly.
Yeah, so it's been plenty of time for him to kind of be curious about what's been going on since you have left. And I assume that you'll be able to go through and retell the whole story. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure there wasn't something that you were trying to keep a secret from him for any reason or anything like that.
No. No, I pour the whole story out. Nothing hiding.
Okay. So you're going through and you're telling the story to him. And at certain bits, you weren't really sure that like that would be the reaction you got from him. He starts looking a little bit more worried and a little bit more worried. I mean, yeah, I guess to a point, some of the things that happened and some of the things that you're telling, because you told the tale of Dollhiss and meeting him and the story of
going to jail
and the story of Silver I mean, you're pouring your heart out to this man after the emotional couple. I mean, it's been a couple, like you said, a couple months since you've been gone. You've missed everybody here. You've met these other people, and you guys have had these fights, and you've been wrongfully accused. Well, I mean, you guys sort of were in a fight, so you were wrongfully accused.
I was going to say, some of us know we have guilt.
And so like everything's just pouring out, and you're telling everything you can remember of Silver's tale to him. You're telling everything of Dalhiss's tale to him. And he's starting at the very end of it. He is still looking relieved that he sees you there, but you can tell there is concern in his eyes. And he looks right over and tells you, he goes, we're going to have to talk with the other two when they are awake. So you two walk off to go have conversations elsewhere. And Dalhiss, you find yourself waking up in a strange room that you have never seen before. And there is a person kind of dabbing your scales with a wet towel on your forehead, as for whatever reason, you're unsure really at this point, dabbing your forehead, and you can feel the areas that were injured in the battle. They still ache very much. You try and move slightly and it hurts. It really hurts still. And the girl with you goes, oh, no. Shh, it's okay. Just, you need to lay here and get your rest right now.
Did that go through?
There, now we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, did something happen? Okay. What's going on? It hurts.
Don't worry, sir. You are in the Church of Apollo. We brought you in with Lucia. Do you know Lucia well?
We've talked a little.
We brought you in with her. She looked like you guys were all injured together, so we brought you in, and we're bringing you back up to health.
She didn't heal me last time. It hurts.
And so she's going through and
why? Where are we?
You're a dragon. So are you supposed to be this hot? Do I need to keep dabbing you with this water? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do what I can to make you feel better. And the two of you kind of go about having a weird back and forth as she's trying to understand dragonborn, not anatomy, like it, don't get pervy with it. Just like she has no idea what she's never dealt with
physiology.
An ailing dragonborn before. And
that's not my tale.
So she's very confused on what's going on with all of that. And you guys keep talking.
Okay.
And just going about. Silver, you wake up and you are in you're in a room just like the others.
Okay.
I almost grabbed the wrong token there.
And so I just woke up and I'm in the room. Am I alone right now at this moment?
Yes, you are alone at this moment.
Ah, shit, I'm in jail again. In that case, I'd like to. Am I able to get out of bed without pain, or am I in bad shape?
You feel the same pain. You feel the same exact pain. If you guys see any nurses here, all they have is sexy nurse tokens. Okay. So I apologize, but I'm not about to go through and try and find another nurse token out there.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
There's a sexy nurse touching down.
I like the Nurse Joy sexy nurse thing. Like, it's great. It's fine. It's perfect. So I wake up. I'm in the room by myself. In that case, I would like to. I'm basically going to try to force myself still to get out of bed and look around and look for a door and a window.
Yeah. So you roll up in your bed, and it took a lot of effort for you to just roll up in your bed. You can tell right now, if you tried to sprint, you feel like your insides would just fall back out. Like you're like, no, this is, you know for a fact that you would not be able to escape anything right now. Mm-hmm. And I imagine Silver's fight or flight is sort of kind of kicking in because you just woke up in a room all alone.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, by the way, am I still in the same clothes and all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Just wanted to verify.
You're still in the same clothes, and it looks like everything's been mended, but there's still a little bit of we'll say there's still like dirt, blood types of dirtiness in it.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to do my best to get to the damn door.
Okay, so that's the door right there. You
Okay.
see the door. It's it's a good 20 feet away from you. As soon as you get up, you put your feet up on the floor. I mean, beforehand you were sitting there and your feet weren't necessarily touching.
Mhm.
And then you kind of go and start putting some weight down on the floor. And as soon as you do, you kind of hear some shuffling come by. And you'll get your first look at sexy nurse here.
Lucia, why don't you dress like this? Okay, sorry. Done.
Lucia would kick your ass.
Immediately, someone comes in and goes, "Oh, you're up. How are you feeling right now?"
Immediately at this point, I'm going to look this person over before answering. What can you tell me about the way they look?
This person is wearing, actually, how about this? Lucia, player knowledge. What is a color of Apollo, would you say?
Yellow.
Yellow. This person is wearing a light, very faded yellow, would you say robes, Lucia?
Yeah.
Would robes be appropriate?
I would say that would be appropriate.
Okay, so very light and faded yellow robes.
Okay. And what can I see the ears?
It's a young human girl.
Young human girl. Can I
Yep,
see
young
the
human
ears?
Yes, it's a young human girl, so the ears
I
look like.
apologize. I'm sorry. Yeah, young human girl. Okay.
Yep.
So in that
young human girl.
case, then I just basically had to turn after looking her up and down, taking a minute to do that. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and then I just basically respond to the person saying, "Where am I?"
You're at the Church of Apollo. We saw you with Lucia, and so we believe that you were her friends. You guys were attacked, from what I've been told, and so we brought you in to heal you back up.
You're with Lucia? Is she here? Is Dalhis here?
Yeah, Lucia and did you say Dalhis earlier?
I did.
A second ago. Yes, your Lucia and your massive dragon friend. They're both here. Lucia's doing a little bit better. She's out and about, having a conversation. And your friend Dalhis is still being tended to. He was hurt pretty gravely.
Take me to him. I'm going to need to make sure he's okay.
You're in a lot of pain right now. Are you sure that's something you want to do?
You're damn right it is.
Okay, so she goes through. She helps you out of the door here.
Okay.
And you two, very slowly, as she comes over to help you. Do you accept her help to try and walk with you?
I accept her help.
Okay, so you two.
I mean, I keep a leery eye on her, but I accept her help because I can't do it otherwise.
Yeah, trust me, you'd have been rolling if you didn't. And you make your way into another room here. Shit. Where do I put this? Here. Yeah, that's what it is. So you make into another room. Looks pretty much identical to the one you were in, and you see Dalhis laying down on a bed. And you can see he's pretty hurt, and there's a nurse nervously kind of patting his head with a wet cloth of some form, and you can just see it's awkward.
Save me, Silver.
I would like to look at the other nurse as well, and so you can describe her. Describe something about her as well. Like, what does she look like?
Yeah, so she's excuse me. She's and this is what makes the sight even more funny. She's a young halfling girl. You would say probably about Lucia's age. So you've got this little halfling girl, like nervously dabbing on this massive dragon's forehead. She's also wearing the same faded yellow robes. They seem a lot more faded and a lot more tattered. There's nothing like ripped or anything like that, but you can just tell, yeah, these have had their use.
Gotcha.
These robes, and they're a little too big for her. And you see her when she's leaning over, because she has to lean a lot to get over to Dalhis to pat his forehead down. You see a sun pendant kind of hanging around her neck, and it's the same type of pendant that you have seen on Lucia before as well.
Gotcha. Hey, Dalhis, I thought you looked pretty bad on the battlefield, but this is actually kind of worse almost.
Thanks, buddy. I'm kind of hurting. How are you?
Oh, man. Ready to take on an entire legion. He lied. I
Liar.
want to go bluff. Can I try to bluff to fake him out, even though it doesn't matter?
If you want to try and bluff him, yeah, let's.
I do. I want him to think that I'm really tough.
All right. What's your wisdom, Burke? Both of you do wisdom rolls for me. Oh, no, Burke or Brian. Burke, you do wisdom roll, and then Brian, you do whatever the charisma, intimidation, bluff, whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Gotcha. I'm trying to figure out where does bluff fall under?
I'd say it's a charisma skill, wouldn't it be?
Okay, so it's I gotcha.
Persuasion, same thing, isn't that roughly?
Yeah, I would say that's the same thing.
1d21.
Okay, so yeah, he believes you. He thinks that you're ready to get up and go and take on an entire armada by yourself.
Yes. So in that case,
as you wince and it looks like more red comes onto the cloth that's holding up your side where you were stabbed or shot or whatever happened.
I just ask. I go. Can you, since you feel well, find Lucia? I need healing.
I hear you, buddy. I'll get on that. I just wanted to make sure you were doing okay. And I turn to the nurse and say, "Take me back to my room."
Wait. I roll perception to see if I hear that.
All right, yeah, roll it. Go ahead.
Where's perception? Okay.
So he hears it. He hears you say that. I guess I don't know, Dalhis, if he picked up what was going on, but he heard it.
Okay.
So Dalhis rolled a 19 on that. So he heard.
Dalhis rolls a 19. Yep. Sorry.
He heard Silver say that, but since he believed him initially, he's just thinking, maybe he's just wanting to get back and whatever, rest and figure out his spell situation or whatever he's wanting to do. But he's desperately wanting to get back. And as you kind of turn, I'm going to say that you guys were here.
Yeah. Okay.
And as you guys turn, right then, that's when Lucia and where's his turn button? There's his turn button. That's really weird. They both walk in through the door.
Found her.
Lucia. Yay. I'm hurting. I'm weak. Help me. And I kind of fall back asleep.
At that point, I turn to Lucia and I shoot her a look and just silently mouth, "It's like, are we okay?"
Lucia is just grinning.
Is this the afterlife? Are we dead?
She's just grinning.
Lucia rolls her eyes.
Did you happen to see the whisper I sent you, Michelle?
I did see it. I'll have that answered momentarily.
Okay, so the older man that neither one of you really knows turns to the two nurses and goes, do you mind if we have a moment alone? And they agree and take off.
Bye, sexy nurses.
And they end up
what if
taking
it
off.
was a child? How dare you think that?
Okay, halfling, not child. So at this point, am I leaning heavily against the wall to stand up?
No, there's a little chair that you're in. Good. There's a little chair right where you're at right now. Lucia is, I would say, leaning against the wall. She doesn't look great, but she looks a lot better than what you two look right now. And the older man looks at the both of you and says, How are both of you feeling?
I'm sleeping.
I look back at Dalhis and I look back at him, and once again I want to look him over. I like to look over people, just especially when you're in a different situation like that. So he's an old man. I got that part. And is he? Do I know his race or anything?
Do you, Lucia, does he have any certain race, anything that you know from your father figure?
He's human.
Okay.
Pretty tall, probably like close to 6 feet. Longer white hair, like shoulder length, probably. Decent white beard. He's pretty thin.
Okay. I was just curious, just so I can get a mental image there. So I would look at him and say, "Had better days, but I'll manage."
He gives you a knowing smile, a reassuring smile and you kind of get the idea, like he kind of knows what you're going through in a sense, or he's empathetic to what's going on. And he says, "Well, if you don't mind," he didn't cough.
It'd be better if you did.
If you don't mind, it looks like your friend has gone back to sleep. When you guys are all feeling up to it, can we sit down and have a conversation?
Sure thing. I need to take 5 myself.
So that'll cover that little portion there. So you agree to it. You all go back to your areas.
Hmm?
You go back to rest. And over the course of, a day or two, you're starting to feel a little bit better. The nurses, I'll call them nurses, sorry. It's the other church members, girls like that are coming in and they're performing light magic on you, like small magic, not like light. I guess technically it's light magic as well. So light magic. And every time it's getting a little bit better and a little bit better. After, like I said, after a handful of days, you're feeling good enough to where you could go through, you could stand up, you could do some things without feeling just completely terrible. And so it comes to a day where all of you had agreed to sit down and have this conversation. Sit down and have the conversation that you talked about before.
Okay.
So 3 of you are in this man's office here. So then I'll undo the areas that you've already seen before. You guys haven't had a chance to explore yet. These people are outside. And over the last couple of days, you've had small conversations here and there, but nothing too big with anybody. And you've learned that this man's name is, and let me know if I'm saying this correctly, Ander Maria Yethra.
Yeah, we'll just go with the Ander part.
Ander?
Ander.
Yethra. You've come to know him, and for everything you can tell, you've come to be able to trust him decently. Obviously, Silver, you're always a little apprehensive about people in general, but like you still get a good sense. You get the same sense you get from Lucia out of this man. He's a bit more talkative. He's a bit more smiley. So he's easy to, you can tell that he'd be easy to get along with for a lot of different people. So you inherently you trust him far more than you trust than the average bear.
Got it.
So he sits you all down and he goes, "Okay, I'm really glad that we're able to sit down and have this conversation. Over the last few days, we have been able to heal you up. It's not a difficult thing successfully bringing some people back from that brink of death. It is not an easy thing to do." And then he goes through and tells what happened. So it was, if there was any questions to you, he already told Lucia, but if there's any questions to you guys, he told you how he heard, the church heard this massive, just pounding explosion sound, this massive, pop and crackle. And that alerted them, and they all became defensive because this is an area where there's monsters and there's other things that come around, and they don't want anything like that happening. So they sent a scout party out to see what had happened, and that's when they came upon a hobgoblin aiming a bow down at the dying Lucia, aiming right at her head, and they were able to come in and subdue this. I mean, this hobgoblin was hurting pretty bad already, but they're able to subdue him down and bring you guys back to this church. And though none of you had died yet, you guys were all dangerously close to dying, and they don't know how to resurrect. Lucia, you know that they don't know how to resurrect. So you have the ability to, if you needed to, discuss with the others on how close you guys all were to dying and how hard it was to bring all of you back, and why it's been 3-4 days and you guys aren't feeling, just perfectly normal. You guys aren't feeling normal when you felt Lucia's healing magic. I'm just going to say that you guys have felt Lucia's healing magic before, but had never been to this scale. Like, you'd never been down that far. So he explains. So, and he turns and goes, What was that massive explosion right beforehand? What happened?
Oh, I can answer to that one there, Andy. I feel like I would have given him a nickname, so I'm going to call him Andy instead of Ander for the moment, unless he corrects me.
He just smiles at you.
So, yes, I cast a spell. You might have heard of it. It's called Thunder Wave, and whenever I cast it, it creates a large sonic boom that can be heard for many miles around.
He kind of looks and shakes his head and goes, yes, that makes perfect sense. That makes absolute perfect sense. So, this spell that you do, how did you come about it? Have you studied for a long time as a wizard?
Silver breaks into a large and long laugh. No. I just have the one magic book, and I produce the shitty magic book and show him. No. This is the first time I've ever even read anything about magic. I was born with my abilities.
Oh, okay. So you're a sorcerer then.
Yes, that's that. I guess that's the proper name for it.
Is this the first time? This is player knowledge. Is this the first time Silver's heard the term sorcerer?
He would have heard it, but in passing, they it wouldn't be nobody would have went around going, "You're a sorcerer," straight up. Like, they would have just it would have been like reading a definition of what you are versus So they wouldn't have been going, the sorcerer did this, the sorcerer did that, like that. Where he's from,
okay,
the little shit did this. Yeah,
so that's the first time that you guys were able to kind of hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first time you had heard him say sorcerer. So if anything, that gives you a little bit of confirmation of what you have known or suspected or anything along those lines, where he kind of he gave you a for sure, okay, that's what I am. That's what this is. That's the magic I do. This is, oops, I messed it up. That's his desk in front of him.
Okay.
His shitty desk. Big grand desk. He then keeps going. He goes, and you, Dalhis, correct?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
And where, might I ask, are you from?
Well, north.
North. You would know the name Garthabund. I can't. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the Garthabund
mountains. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of what they were called.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's fine.
North from the Garthabund mountains.
He gives a kind of knowing look over and goes, "Okay. Well, it seems this is all starting to come together, isn't it?"
Have you ever seen another dragonborn like me?
No, I have not seen another dragonborn like you. Not for many years.
Many years?
It's been many years, and I believe I saw one north at a town, but I don't have the map up yet to say. Damn, this thing not allowing me to fucking zoom in. Yes, the town of Ramor. I believe it is just north of your Garthabund spires. I believe I saw one up there once in my travels. Just like Lucia, after I took off onto my journeys after I had gone through what I needed to here. But there's something more troubling that I need to see. So is one of your ancestors Gaiax Liamtall?
Yes.
If one of your ancestors Gaiax Liamtall, that means that you have a intense draconic bloodline. Is that not correct?
Well, usually these scales indicate that, yes. But yes.
But a almost magical draconic bloodline. It's nothing that's been diluted enough to be kobold or other type of very inferior, but dragon ancestry, being part of dragon ancestry. But you are one of the ones that is a direct descendant and almost pure dragon-born blood, correct?
I do come from a small village. It is we do have traditions and magical powers that are passed down generation to generation, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, at this point, Lucia, I believe it's time for you to learn a little bit more about our church. And he kind of looks over to you, and you get this kind of weird pit feeling in your stomach.
Okay. I'm probably going to also look like very bewildered.
I think I need to start from the very beginning on this one to fully explain. And very soon, after I've confirmed a couple things with you, Silver, and you, Dalhis, I think you will understand how you are connected in all of this. So, Lucia, the gods, they've always been understood as these beings of tremendous and great power, unkillable, immortal. And you kind of shake your head like, yeah, this is simple. And in Silver and Dalhis, you both, like, you tangentially follow along. You're like, yeah, gods, you know, they're gods. But then he turns and he goes, but this isn't correct. That's wrong. Gods can be killed. And gods can age, but it's a vastly different rate than any what we would call mortal here on this planet or on this world. This is even tremendous for the long-living elves' thought process, to where most elves, most everybody believes that these gods are unkillable and immortal. But that's still wrong. And we have learned over the passage of time that this is incorrect. It can be described as this way. Long ago, the gods used to be very different. They were an entirely different set of gods that were worshipped in today's church, or in that day's churches. There was many of them watching over nearly every aspect of life. But for our story, we're going to focus on two of these gods. As we understand, these gods can be, if gods can die and new gods can take their place, that means gods can be created. And there's two different ways that we have found that gods can be created: by enough faith or being born from other gods. The creation of gods by faith is a pretty rare thing. You have to think about the massive amounts of time that these gods live. And for one to pop up and to live that long, and for no one to notice because it's been such a long time that nobody notices these gods are coming and going, this is already a very rare event for gods to become gods by faith alone. And sorry, I'm going into my notes here. And for a multitude of gods to be present, like there used to be, that basically required an eon's worth of time for all of these gods to all have their own faith, to all have these different domains that they ruled over. And this had to be a miraculous amount of peace amongst all of these gods. But even rarer than that is the creation of a god by birth. Time and peace long enough for very independent and very self-sufficient gods that they search more attention than just what their followers give them, to stray away from paying pure attention to any of the domains that they watch over, and that they search companionship within other gods. This is a really rare event. The rarity is always astounding, and it will always lead to awesome results. And he's using the term awesome, not like, oh, awesome, but like, holy shit results. And in this case, it led to the birth of something even more rare, the birth of gods, or twin gods. They were named Apollo and they were named Artemis. And Lucia, this is when you kind of you start understanding, because there's a god of Apollo. That's the god that you've always followed. And then you've heard of Artemis. This has been a part of the pantheon, and you'd kind of known that they were brother and sister, that they were born, but you didn't know a lot of this other portion of information about, you never really had thought about too much the creation of gods. They just were always there. They were ever present. Apollo was ever present for you.
Sometime during this, I lean over to Silver and go, "Holy shit, this medicine that they've given us is good. This is fucking insane." That's okay.
But
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Silver would have like for the first time ever ignored something Dahl has said because he's really like enthralled by the story.
But I'll go back to where I left off before we kind of went off. They were named Apollo and Artemis, but this wasn't true. And again, Lucia, you kind of like, whoa, holy shit, wait, what? For when they were born, Zeus and Leto saw that one was a righteous and good son, and the other one was evil. That son was named... Let me type this out for you so you can see it at the same time. Cytherai. And for people that know the fun parts of the old pantheons here, Zeus vowed to eat this evil child, but Leto promised to eliminate the child herself, but she was unable to. Instead, she cast the child into the underworld. And there was no hope of this child.
Just so I understand, he's saying that there was a third.
No, he's saying that the twins were Apollo and Cytherai.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I was following. Okay.
I'll get back to the Artemis stuff here in a little bit, I think.
Okay.
If I remember right. It's been a while since I went over this stuff that I wrote. But that was that's the way he explained it was, or he said it better than I did, that he explained the twins weren't Apollo and Artemis. They were Apollo and
boys. Got it.
Cytherai.
Okay.
Yeah, two boys. And Zeus went to eat the child, as he does, and as his father did.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Leto promised that she was going to eliminate this child herself, but she was unable. Instead, she cast the child into the underworld. There was no hope at all for this child to grow in the underworld. This child was going to be consumed by the underworld immediately. So it was something Leto saw to herself to see, just to throw down there and it not be on her conscience that she had killed one of her children. And again, anybody that's listening, I am taking my own take on obviously the Greek or Roman, if you guys are going that far, but the Greek pantheon. So when I say that like childbirth via gods is rare, it's rare. Imagine this is basically one of the only times that this happens, though it happens everywhere else.
It doesn't happen every 5 seconds. Like
yes, even though it does in real Greek mythology, it doesn't here. Run with it.
It's your own universe.
It is my universe.
Zeus
so
is
I
not
wanted to
a man whore.
No. So Leto throws Cytherai down, knowing there's no hope that this children is going to grow in the world of monsters, in the world of hatred, that it was going to be consumed immediately. This child would be vulnerable and would depend upon somebody, but it wouldn't. But as fate would have it, I don't know if I've typed this name before. I'm going to type it anyways. But as fate would have it, this was not to be. Ithindrat, the lord of plague and shadow, found him first, and he stowed Cytherai away to keep for himself. And Brian, or Silver, this is when you went, ugh, and you get this gut punch hearing that name, the Ithindrat name.
Gotcha.
This is when he stowed Cytherai away and kept him with himself in the black pit, which is the hell of my world, the underworld. And he raised him as his own. And Cytherai and Apollo, they had always shared the same domain. They had both the power of knowledge and light and medicine. But under Ithrindat, the two wielded their power completely differently. While Apollo chose to spread knowledge, to open up minds of the world, Cytherai chose to hoard it and gain advantage and power over the ignorant. While Apollo spread his knowledge into medicine to heal the masses, Setharai learned to use his knowledge of medicine to poison, spread plague, and inflict despair on everyone. And while Apollo chose the light to illuminate the world, Setharai learned to shroud and hide the light and create darkness, inducing fear and control through it. Once Setharai was powerful enough to escape the Black Pit, he brought himself and Ithrandat to the mortal plane. And since coming to the surface, Ithrandat has started building and commanding and is the leader, the god of the Valaclaci, all in a way to bring more power to Setharai by extracting divinity shards from the other gods. Ooh, I think I technically went one bullet point too far. But you do know that. It is something where it is the... Ithrandat is the leader of the Valaclaci, and these are both names that, again, Silver, gut punch. You hear both names connected like this. In Silver, you know Ithrandat, he is the head honcho of the group that had you when you were captured. The Valaclaci was the name of that group as well. So I don't know how much you have told everyone else about specific names and all that stuff, but
I probably wouldn't have mentioned that necessarily because it probably wouldn't have came up in direct. But that I'd say if that came up, I'd say you probably wait to the end of the story and be like, author's note, and just add in, like, make sure that everyone recognized the threat level / what like the connection there. He wouldn't keep that to himself is what I'm getting at.
So you're saying that you would kind of connect back, like that was the lead guy and one of his underlings was the guy you guys ran away from in Veilthorn.
Yes. So exactly. And basically explaining, or I'd say make sure to state the seriousness of the whole thing, meaning like, I what I'm trying to get at is I want to make sure that Silver would have waited to the end of the story and not be as usual, like, interjecting crass self. He would have been like, so you're telling me that basically Ithrandat, let's say the man who had me as a child, is effectively the god. It's a god.
He is not the god. He's the right hand.
He was the caretaker of the god.
Yes, he's the caretaker.
Yes.
He was in so what you would understand from this is that he was in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
And once he took care of Setharai enough, like he helped him, he raised him, he brought him up to maturity.
Right.
For a god, Setharai was able to extract himself and Ithrandat out of the Black Pit and bring them back to the mortal plane. So that brings a lot of questions to you, because you've seen Ithrandat very sparingly, but you have seen him before. Mm-hmm. And it brings you all forms of questions on like, oh shit.
Yeah. So Dalhus is, in the meantime, he fell asleep during that story. Okay. And kind of woke up when Brian started talking again. And he's going to interject and go, so that's where Donar is, right? My brother that we think. I'm looking at Silver.
Yeah, I would say Ander kind of just looks like he's waiting for Silver to answer.
Silver turns to Dallas. Yeah, buddy, I think so. And if that's the case, we're in a lot. Oh God, we see a little help on this one. I don't want to fight a god. We might want to run.
I am Dragonborn.
Lucia is just like literally sitting there, like in complete shock right now, like unresponsive.
I turn back to back to Gandalf and say, Andy, buddy, you help me out here. Is there a silver lining to your story?
Well, hey, look. I may not be smart, but Apollo, the god who is here, he's the opposite or twin. He's on our side. We're good. Let's go.
He kind of looks and goes, yes, Silver. There is a silver lining, you could say.
So Silver actually goes,
he goes, and for me to tell you what that silver lining is, again, lol, let me tell you one other bit of information. So for thousands of years, Sithrai has started wars against the other gods, and slowly he pitted himself against the gods to steal their divinity to increase his own power. But the good thing is, Apollo, matching Sithrai's power as his twin, has also taken up the mantle to fight against his true twin. Apollo instructed his high priest to start training his followers and to fight against his Sithrai followers, the Valaclaci, to protect this world. And after Sithrai ravaged the pantheon of nearly every god, killing almost all of them in attempts to rip their divinity from them, Apollo found Sithrai's base of operations in the ethereal plane. I can't speak.
I got
Can someone say the word for me?
Ethereal.
Ethereal.
Yes, ethereal plane. Thank you. I could not say it. And their fight shook Valaclaci as the power reverberated through all planes. But no one knows what happened during this time. It's been quiet for over 1,000 years now. And there's been no word from Apollo. There's been no word from Sithrai. There's been no mention, clue, or movement from the Valaclaci until now. And that is where we're going to end it for this week.
Laugh, bitches.